back, baby. Had a great Bills-Rams game. We got lots to go over. Tyler Sawa from the Pride Podcast, the Detroit Lions Podcast, will be joining us in moments. Don't go anywhere. Trending in the AM starts in 30 seconds.
Holding gets around in front.
And Philadelphia has it.
Very good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. Live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow. Do all the things you do to help us continue to grow this morning show. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button. We greatly appreciate that. And if you want to get interactive with the show, we got a special guest here joining us in a second. Make sure you head over to the YouTube page. It's the best place to put your comments. And also, the more people comment, the more it gets bumped up the algorithm and up the charts, everybody. So with that, no further ado, I am going to welcome my guest today. As we get set for Eagles, Lions, we got to get somebody to get in here, to talk about the Detroit Lions. So I got my main man, Tyler Sawa. Is it Sawa or Sawa?
Sawa. You said it right first.
From the Pride Podcast. It's a Detroit Lions podcast over there on the Blue Wire Podcast Network. You guys do a Twitter space every single day before the game time. I had some of you guys on last year before the Detroit Lions Eagles game. So welcome, and how you doing this morning?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me again, Phil.
Yeah, I mean it's not easy waking up in the morning to do a podcast, but somebody's watching in the morning.
Oh yeah, got to.
All right, so let's talk here. I mean, football's back. The Detroit Lions, Eagles, Week 1. Let me tell you something. We do this show every day, and we've been talking Eagles, Lions, it feels like, for 6 months now because we've been just waiting for the season to start. And there's a lot of people that listen to this show that are very fearful of this Detroit Lions team in Week 1 for the Eagles. So at first, just like an overall general feeling, is this Detroit Lions team a team that we should be scared of?
It's a team that's they're going to be a gritty team. I think that's been their motto, like all offseason, is grit. Is like, we've seen them kind of pick up on that word. Dan Campbell in training camp, they made the hats, they made the T-shirts. It's been the word. It's definitely an improved team from last year, from where we were standing last year around this time to where we are now. It's definitely an improved team. But the Eagles improved a lot this offseason. I'll say it from an unbiased opinion. Like, you guys did a lot this offseason to make yourself, I think, a legitimate team to win a division, make yourself a better playoff team than you guys were last year. So should you guys be worried? I mean, it's Week 1. I think any team should be worried Week 1 for the NFL team. Anything could happen Week 1. It doesn't matter how much of a favorite you are, how much of an underdog you are. There's so many crazy things that happen Week 1 because it's, everyone's going to the season the same thing. Everyone's hot right now. No one's cold right now. No one's, super hot right now. So,
I mean, you say anything could happen. I mean, I'm not sure how much you stayed up last night, but I mean, the Rams are the defending Super Bowl champions.
Yep,
I got them as the best team in the NFC. Hell, my power rankings right now had them coming into Week 1, the number 1 team, and they just got completely smoked last night.
Yeah.
I mean, they looked like a 4-win team last night. I mean, Matthew Stafford looked old. Von Wagner looked old. Allen Robinson, I mean, couldn't get open worth any. I mean, he would be the 4th or 5th wide receiver on most teams based off of the way he played last night. So, anything can happen in Week 1.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's going to be an interesting game for sure. It's a lot of, I want to see this new Eagles team because there is some new faces like A.J. Brown. How is that going to look in this new offense? I want to see Jalen Hurts with this offense. I mean, the way I look at it, just from an unbiased opinion real quickly, is like, this is a put up or shut up year for Jalen Hurts. Like, there's no excuses anymore. Let's see what you could do. We surrounded you with some really good pieces. Let's see what you could do. Are you our guy or are you not our guy?
Yeah. I mean, I was going to start off with the coaching comparison, but we could get right into Jalen Hurts here. I mean, because the Detroit Lions and the Philadelphia Eagles are in like completely different stratospheres right now when it comes to the quarterback play. I mean, Jalen Hurts, some of us are big fans of him, think he's going to be the leader of this team going forward. Some have a lot of question marks. It is, like you said, put up or shut up. On the other side of it, you've guys got Jared Goff, former number 1 overall pick, who we always thought would be linked with Carson Wentz, and now Carson Wentz is off doing his thing. I don't even know what his thing is anymore. Where are you guys thinking quarterback? I mean, Jared Goff to me, I think is an underappreciated quarterback. He's not as good as that number one overall pick would suggest he should be, but I think to an extent he's almost overlooked on what he's capable of doing back there.
So the thing with Jared, it's gonna be really interesting. I think it's kind of a similar year, kind of like Jalen. It's put up or shut for golf. It's like this is your opportunity. We gave you a really good offense, surrounding pieces. Maybe not as good as the the Eagles did, but you got a good offensive line in place. You got a really good receiving core in place right now. Running back, running back core in place right now with DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. It really is a put up or shut up year for Jared Goff. If he has a good year and he could somehow lead this 3-win Lions team to the playoffs or gets him close to that spot, I think we could talk about Jared Goff maybe being in the future plans for the Lions, and then that could mean extension talk potentially. Now, if Jared Goff doesn't improve too much from what he did last year, and he's very average, and the Lions think they could improve the position, I don't think they have any hesitation in upgrading that position through the draft, or we've seen the quarterback shuffle around the league with doing trades with veterans. I don't think the Lions would have any hesitation to make a move for a quarterback if they don't think Goff is going to be the guy to get him over the hump. And again, it's a huge year for him. So it's kind of like Jalen. So we'll see what Goff could do this year, man.
I mean, you guys do have also the best deep thrower in Philadelphia Eagles history as your backup quarterback in Nate Sudfeld. I had
Yeah.
Ron Jaworski. I had the great Ron Jaworski on this show like a year and a half ago when Suds was still in Philly as a backup, and I was like, dude, guy, I asked him, I'm like, dude, our backup quarterback is. He's like, no, I've watched him in camp. He throws the best deep ball, and that was when we had Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts, and Nate Sudfeld all in camp at the same time, and Ron Jaworski was gushing. I was like, dude, I love you, Ron, but man, you can't say anything that positive about a guy like about Nate Sudfeld, man, not at all. Um, so I'm trying. I had a question there, then I thought about Nate Sudfeld. And now I'm just totally thrown off. I'm thinking about that comment there. You guys are. I love your post from last night. You guys do have the number one overall pick now at this moment and all. Um, what is the Lions' commitment over? Like, so is Jared Goff? Do people want to commit to him there in Detroit? Like right now, like the Eagles are dead. The fan base is dead. Split 50%. Just move on from Jalen Hurts. This is it. And 50% are like, yo, let's give him a small extension. Let's give him a couple more years. Let's see what he's got. Where's the fan base on Jared Goff?
I would say the majority of it is they're preparing for a new quarterback. I
Okay.
don't think many people are expecting Jared to be the future quarterback for this team. But hey, if Jared has a great year somehow and you now have a guy that you feel comfortable with the quarterback position, you now have 2 first-round picks with the Rams pick
Mhm.
to now build around Jared Goff and not have to use that pick towards a quarterback or use those picks to trade up for a quarterback because hoping the Lions are not that bad and they're not in position just to be in a top 3 pick where they could just select a quarterback. Hopefully they can improve this year. And if Jared Goff is not part of your future plans, you're going to have to make some type of move with those picks, most likely to get a quarterback, whether that's a veteran or whether that's a rookie. So, I mean, whoever is cheering against Jared Goff, I don't understand it
Mhm.
because why would you not want that, to have that quarterback position figured out? Now, do I think he's going to be the guy? I don't personally. I think the Lions could
Right.
always upgrade from a Jared Goff.
Mhm.
But if he could prove something this year and, maybe turn back the clock to what he was like in 2018,
Mhm.
like, yeah, sign me up for that. But now, do I expect that? I do not expect that. But I don't understand the people that are cheering against him. That's just I don't
Yeah, I mean, we're
understand that.
actually in a very similar situation as you are because we have 2 first-round picks. We got the Saints pick and our pick next year. And, and there are people that are just so anti against Hurts. But if he works out, just imagine. I mean, the Eagles are in a different situation than the Lions because we're a little further ahead,
Yeah.
in this retooling process that we went through. And just imagine this team is already how good it is, and we have 2 first-round picks next year. If we don't need to package them to move up into the top 5 to get a quarterback, and this team's set for the next 5, 6 years with youth and talent. So I think we're both kind of in a similar situation. I actually have very high hopes, and generally speaking, for the Lions this year. I think I predicted every team's record, all the divisions, everything, and I actually have the Lions at 7-10 this year. I think that's third place in their division. I think they could go maybe up to 8 wins, but I think they are an improved team. The culture's changing there. But the question that we've been talking about in Philly with Jalen Hurts is like, what's that cap? Like, what do the Lions have to do? What do the Eagles have to do to, you know, commit to Jalen Hurts? How far do the Lions have to go? If they go 7-10 and show some improvement, but because the NFC, is tougher, there's still holes on your team. Is 7-10 going to be considered a success in your eyes?
I think overall in the season, I would be completely content with 7 wins. I think that's where I kind of have them right now too, is my expectation. Now, is that going to be enough for Jared Goff to have, the job in 2023 and beyond that with 7 wins? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be enough. I honestly think Jared's expectation to keep the job is going to be really, really high. Like, um, it's either going to have to be one.
Like last year, the Eagles got to the playoffs at 9-8, and
Yeah.
then got completely smoked in the first round of the playoffs. Is that enough to keep the job? Because
I
some
think
people said that it wasn't enough for Jalen Hurts because he got blown out by the Bucks and he looked so bad in that playoff game. Even though he got them there, that wasn't enough for some people to commit.
I think if Jared could get us to the playoffs, it's tough, man, because you just don't know what's gonna be out there. I think if
Yeah,
Jared proves that he can get you to the playoffs, I think they have that in the back of their mind. If they can't pull off a trade during draft day or they can't pull off a trade with a veteran, they're like, okay, we have a guy right now that we could win games with. But I think it's kind of like San Francisco. I mean, San Francisco went to the NFC Championship with Jimmy Garoppolo. They won a lot of games with Jimmy Garoppolo, and they still had zero hesitation of moving off of him. And I kind of look at it similarly with Jared Goff a little bit because I just think there's always a scenario where you could upgrade from Jared. I really do. But, if the deal's not there, I don't think they'll force it if he
right.
proves that he could, get you to the spot that, like the playoffs or something like that. But I just feel like there's always gonna be chatter about moving on from Goff and looking to upgrade the position. I just think if you can get an upgrade, I think you can go from a good team to a great team. And I just don't think Jared will ever be that guy um, that we kind of ever expect him to really be. So I don't know. I look at him more as just a bridge quarterback. I think they
Yeah.
will upgrade the position eventually.
Yeah. Even if you upgrade it, you could still hang on to Jared Goff in the short term until whoever your
Yeah.
next guy is
Yeah.
like just like again San Francisco. They're
Mhm.
giving the reins to Trey Lance, but they are keeping Jimmy G just as kind of an insurance package, just in case that Trey Lance isn't the guy. Which again, I will say on record for the 14th time, I do not think Trey Lance is the guy. I'm just going to remind everybody that I think that. So I wanted to start with, and we got into quarterback talk there. Dan Campbell, Nick Sirianni, the coaching comparison there. Um, Dan Campbell, first off, from day one when he had his intro press conference there in Detroit last year, I loved the passion, and I knew from right away. I do a golf podcast with my co-host lives up in Detroit, and he's a big Lions fan, and he said it right from the get go too. The passion and the energy of Dan Campbell, it's infectious. Is the passion and all that enough? Is Dan Campbell turning into a really good head coach up there in Detroit?
I think that's tough to say right now. Like the passion's there. I think the fan base is really bought in, and I kind of look at it right now where the lines are with Dan Campbell. It's kind of the honeymoon stage right now because the expectations are not that high right now. Year one, you're taking over a team that was really bad and you're rebuilding it from bottom. And now year two, expectations have rise, but they're not to the point where you have to win a division or even make the playoffs, where for the fan base to not turn on you. So if like the Lions improve from their 3-1 season, they win, let's say 7 games. I think majority of Lions fans will leave that year feeling, content and ready to give year three Dan Campbell an opportunity and a chance. I don't think there'll be that hesitation. But hey, if he wins only 3 games and they repeat what they did last year, they only win 4 games, all that hype is gone with Dan
Right.
Campbell. There's not going to be that same optimism that I think all Lions fans have right now. But like I said, the expectation is not that high, so I think he could achieve the goal where the fan base kind of has him right now, which, like I said, is not 7 wins, 8 wins, something around that. I think the tough part for Campbell, and this is for any NFL team, I don't think it's the tough part to getting to that point. It's the tough part's how do you get over that hump? Because
Right.
getting to 7 wins is like, okay, you're an okay team now. You're an average team. But how do you go from average to being a legitimate contender? That's going to be
Right.
the tough climb that the Lions are going to have to really go through. They're not there yet, but I think next year around this time of year, we're going to be talking about those expectations for Campbell and just the Lions in general.
Yeah, I think the way you said it was great because Nick Sirianni has a lot more pressure as a second year coach because he made the playoffs last year. Plus,
Absolutely.
the Eagles went out, got AJ Brown, Hassan Reddick, Jordan Davis. They went all in to an extent outside at the quarterback position this offseason. So, coupling what the offseason was and last year's end results, there are if the Eagles come out this year and go 8-9 and miss the playoffs, then all of a sudden there's gonna be heavy criticism put on Nick Sirianni, where that would be considered a major improvement for the Detroit Lions. The offseason and the workout is something that we've talked about a lot on this show lately. The Eagles have had that new super conservative offseason approach, not tackling, very few I think the Eagles were second or third fewest practices during training camp, like real legit practices, whereas opposed to Dan Campbell has a fiery hitting, the old school mentality type training camp to an extent. And there are Eagles fans that say the Eagles are going to start slow this year, and that's one of their concerns with the Lions. Lions are maybe a little bit more, you know, prepared for week one, timing wise and stuff like that. How does Detroit feel about the way he's handling this offseason, the workout regimes, who's playing and who's not playing each game and stuff like that? How do you guys feel about all that?
Yeah, I don't think there's really been I can't think of any criticism from like the fans or like from me or any of our guys at the podcast where like, we criticize what they were doing in a preseason game or what they're doing at camp. Like y- week one, or the week one of the preseason versus the Atlanta. I mean, they had their starters out for one possession, both on offense and defense, and then the second game they didn't really play any starters at all. And then the third game, it was kind of like a half without Jared Goff. Jared Goff didn't play any of it, but their starting offensive line played, starting
Right.
defense played almost essentially the first half. So I don't know. I think it was pretty routine of what NFL teams were doing around the league. So I don't think there was really much criticism
I mean, because
from any
here's the
fans.
criticism with the Eagles. The Eagles number ones played the opening drive of the first preseason game, marched down the field, had a touchdown. It was against the Jets. Their defense had a pretty great and successful first defensive drive. We have not seen starters out there since the first drive of the
Okay.
first game. And, in camp, except for the two joint practices we had against the Dolphins and the Browns, there has been a strict no tackling policy in camp the entire training camp season and in OTAs in the offseason and stuff like that. So they've had I think they only wore pads in practice something like 4 or 5 times
Oh,
outside of the joint. So that's kind of the new, and
yeah,
that's
that's
what the Rams
interesting.
do as well. And then you see the Rams last night come out. I don't know what the Bills do, but I do know the Rams run a very similar philosophy of, let's protect our players. Let's try not to get them injured in camp or in preseason games and save it for the season. And then you see how they come out super flat. You know, I'm trying to judge. I'm okay with the new philosophy, the new way of doing it. I'm also an old guy. I remember back in the late 80s, early 90s, two a day, tackling to the ground. You go live in a college dorm room for 2, 3 weeks and, you beat the hell out of each other. So I remember that old way, but I'm okay with the new way. But I wasn't as concerned. Then I watched last night's game and how flat the Rams came out last night. And it does concern me going up against a team like the Lions that have been, I don't want to say practicing the old style, but close to that old style of being physical in practice and stuff like that. So it does concern me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about it like that because I honestly haven't been keeping up with the Eagles training camp and like
Right,
how they've
right.
been running it, but I didn't even know really teams were doing that, honestly. I just thought, every team kinda does it like how the Lions do it, like, we put pads on
It's
almost every
slowly
day.
trending in the opposite direction. A lot of the younger head coaches in football are starting to go the analytic route of let's not risk our players
Yeah, that's
in
interesting.
practice by hitting and hitting hard. And now the Eagles have taken it to an extreme. And I think, like I said, they're the second or third most conservative. Like I forget reading the report a few weeks ago, most conservative training camp out of the whole entire league. So they take it to an extreme. But a lot of teams are trending in that direction, it seems like, which I'm surprised Dan Campbell, as a young head coach, I guess
Yeah.
his personality just doesn't lend to, a conservative atmosphere around a training camp.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not a coach by any means, so I can't really, like, speak too much to it, but, like,
Right.
yeah, I just feel like you would kind of want the pads on for practices so you can kind of, yeah, like prepare for battle because I mean, you have to be ready for the game. I mean, there's only 17 games. You can't
Right.
start the season flat and not you can't really have like an adjustment period. It's not like the MLB or, like the
Right.
NBA where you can get off to a slow start and then there's a certain point where you can kick on the gear and then you're back in the playoff contention, whatever. In the NFL, it's like we start from start. We got to get going right away. There's not much time to have that adjustment period. So yeah, that's definitely interesting.
Real quick, somebody's asking about the hype from Hard Knocks. Did you guys? I honestly, I don't get HBO. I have not watched any of Hard Knocks yet. From this year, actually, from the last couple seasons of it. You know, was there hype? I don't even know. Was there hype around Hard Knocks
There
this
was
year?
a lot of hype for on
There
Detroit,
always.
for Hard Knocks. Yeah, no, I think that's what a lot of Lions fans are excited about because we even saw it in the episode, and it's true. It's like one of our 6th-round picks this year is the number 2 selling jersey right now for the team, Malcolm Rodriguez. And he was like one of the Hard Knock stars. After Aiden Hutchinson, he's the number 2 jersey right now, like as far as sales right now. And this game, I know Philly fans travel well, but this game versus the Eagles this Sunday is the
Yeah.
first sold out game at Ford Field since I think 2017. So, and that was the Thanksgiving game, and it was, and now they're doing standing room tickets for this Sunday versus the Eagles. All the seats have been sold, so there's definitely a buzz, and I think Hard Knocks definitely contributed to that buzz for sure.
Yeah. That sometimes could put undue expectations on a team, though, for
Yeah,
sure.
no, there is. Now I've seen since Hard Knocks started, we were all good, man. We were all good at that 7 win like market. I thought we were perfectly aligned. I thought I was perfectly aligned with the Lions fans. Now I'm seeing people go 10 wins or bust, 12 wins, 11 wins. I'm like, guys, we were just
Dude,
a 3-win team
that
last year.
we should have done this on a Monday when I do what I call overreaction Mondays, and that would be the Hard Knocks reaction. It would be the overreaction,
Yes,
all that for
every
sure.
week.
So let's switch to that defensive side of the ball because you mentioned Hutchinson. You got the number 1 player in the draft at the number 2 pick. How has he looked in camp? Has he lived up to the expectations of being somebody that should have probably gone number 1 overall?
Yeah, Hutchinson's been that guy so far in these preseason and training camp games. Obviously with the hope of drafting him that early, you kind of hope he could put himself in that conversation, with Miles Garrett, TJ Watt, not year one, obviously, but like eventually get into one of those elite edge rushers. And I think he's putting himself in that conversation. I think he's going to have that type of career. I really do, man. He just has that motor. He has that play style where he could just be such a good player. And in the very limited snaps we've seen in the preseason, just making plays, man. Already has, I think, 2 sacks, like 2 TFLs. He's just making plays, man. I think Dan Campbell alluded to it. It's unleashing Hutch. He said he can't wait to unleash Hutch in front of everybody. And you guys are going to get the first look at him. And it's definitely going to be a super tough assignment for him going against arguably the best offensive line in football in Philly. But it's going to be fun,
Thank you for
man.
saying that. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah,
I appreciate somebody outside of Philly knowing that.
yeah, for sure.
Is he does he line is he an end that bounces side to side, or does he stick to one side or the
Everywhere,
other? Yeah,
everywhere, man. He plays even the 3 tech at some points. You'll see him
yeah,
in 3rd and long
gotcha.
packages probably in that game. The Lions have this type of package where they run no defensive tackles on 3rd and longs, and it's just called the NASCAR. It's just like they just run everybody out there. So you'll see Hutchinson probably line up in the 3 tech a little bit on 3rd and long situations, on obvious passing situations. But yeah, man, he's everywhere on that defensive line.
So tell me a little bit about this defense rest of the way because I'm looking at your depth chart on ESPN.com right now, and honestly, Aiden Hutchinson's the only name that really jumps out that I really know. You
Yeah,
mentioned Malcolm Rodriguez, but I didn't know him till you said his name. As somebody asked earlier in the comments section here about the cornerbacks being one of your weaknesses on the Lions, possibly. Where is this defense? I mean, I know the names on the offense, the Swifts, the St. Browns, the Hawkinsons. I know even Penny Sewell, your first round pick last year. I
yeah.
know names on that offense. I don't really know anybody on this defense. Is this a weakness on your team, or is this just something that people just don't know the guys because they're not household names yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix of both. A lot of it is like just inexperience with a lot of these guys, and a lot of these guys, you know, they're not the household names, and they are missing some guys on defense, especially on the D line, like Romeo Aquara. He's on pup right now. Their second round pick from this year from Kentucky, Josh Pascal. He's on pup right now, so they won't be playing. Um, I mean, a guy like Charles Harris, he was a former first round pick in 2017. Kind of really rejuvenated his career last year. Had a big year for us last year, and he ended up getting a pretty nice contract extension this year. So him and Hutch are probably like, I'd say our household names on the defensive line right now. Ali McNeil, he was a third round pick from last year, nose tackle. He had a really solid rookie year. Definitely looking for some steps out of him this year. But I mean, overall, yeah, man, there's a lot of inexperience, especially like you mentioned, the DBs room. The cornerback room is really, really, really young right now. Amani Oruwariye, who had a really good year for us last year, he's going to be our corner one going into the year. It's going to be a tough assignment because you guys have some receivers, man. You got guys like AJ Brown now, Devontae Smith year two, who I like a lot. Even Quez Watkins is a nice speedy option in the slot. It's going to be a tough assignment for our guys because Akuda, I mean, hasn't played enough games. He's going to be starting, but he's had two serious injuries. This is year three for him, former number three pick. So there's definitely some expectations for those guys, but just a lot of inexperience. And I could see Philly looking at that as a matchup and trying to, definitely exploit that this Sunday.
So actually, one of my key matchups this week isn't like directly the cornerbacks versus the wide receivers because look, we know AJ Brown how great he is. We know what Devontae Smith is capable of. Dallas Goddard, we know he's one of the better tight ends in football,
Mhm.
and it's when you got to focus on AJ Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside, and I guess to an extent Quez Watkins in the slot, who matches up on every team we play to stop Dallas Goddard. And Dallas Goddard, I mean, he's already a really good tight end. His problem has been availability. He's missed time every single season, anywhere from 2 to 5 games each season of his career. If he stays healthy, I actually think he can lead this team in receiving yards this year, which is crazy to say with those two guys on the outside. Who on Detroit will be able to keep up with a 6'5", whatever he is, massive tight end that can go over the middle and just catch anything that's thrown his way?
Yeah, I don't think we have a linebacker on this team that really matchups really well with Dallas Goddard. Like Alex Anzalone's not going to be that guy. Derek Barnes, former fourth round pick from us last year, just not the greatest coverage guy. He's just not there yet. And then I mentioned Malcolm Rodriguez. He's a little smaller, so I don't know if that's a match we really like either. I would honestly look at the safeties potentially. Look at a guy like Tracy Walker. Um, that's probably the best matchup you have with him with Dallas Goddard. But again, that's going to be a tough matchup because Tracy, he's had his moments where he's looked good in coverage, but then he's had those moments where he hasn't looked great in coverage. And tackling's been an issue sometimes with Tracy Walker as well. But he's a guy they gave a contract extension to in this offseason. They gave him a 3-year deal. So you got to have a heavier, load for a guy like him and expect more out of him. So that's the matchup I'm looking for to, you're not going to stop Goddard, but as much as you could prevent him, that's going to be ideal. So I would look at a guy like Tracy Walker.
I agree with this statement. Yeah, I don't think anybody has someone that can match up with Goddard. It's just a matter of him staying on the field, Carter. That's
Yeah.
all. As long as he can play 16 or 17 games, that's what you need. He gets over 1,000 yards if he gets to 16 games. All right. So I don't want to take up your entire morning, Tyler. So let's get into the game. How the game's going to play out. I want two different game scenarios for you. I want the unbiased Tyler opinion, not the Detroit Lions fan, the podcaster, the content creator, how this game plays out and how you see it. And then I kind of want to know, super fan Tyler, loves your Detroit Lions. How does Detroit beat Philadelphia? Kind of the biased opinion and everything like that.
Yeah. I would say the first one, the realistic scenario is the Lions got to emphasize on stopping the run game because we can't have what happened last year. I mean, I think we talked about this last year when I joined the show. Is like, why doesn't Philly run the ball? That was a question I literally asked you. Why doesn't Philly run the ball? They have a great offensive line. Why don't they run the ball? What do they do with the game when they play the Lions on Halloween Day? They run the hell out of the ball and they run it right down our throats. We had no answers for that Eagles run game at all, and we were completely confused on defense. Probably not probably was the lowest point of the whole season last year for a 3-win season. You guys brought us to the lowest point of our season last year.
That's pretty tough to match when you have a 3-win season, you know?
Yeah, no, that was like I've never been so embarrassed after a Lions game in 2021. It
In
was
20
that
okay, I was gonna say just in 2021, I hope, because
no,
there have
yeah,
been
yeah.
some pretty embarrassing
There's
losses
been some
in the
embarrassing
last
lowest points.
10, 20 years.
Yeah, no, just last year, I would say that was the lowest point with that Lions team was that Eagles loss. Um, so yeah, they got to put emphasis on stopping this run game first and foremost, and get that done in this game. I think if you could accomplish that in this game, I think you have a somewhat of a chance if you could let Jalen Hurts be a thrower. But again, that's a concern too because the matchups are not great for your side of the ball on defense because you have some young, inexperienced corners. I think Jalen Hurts is a solid quarterback. I think he can make those throws. So, even if you do stop the run game and force the game into Jalen's hands, that's not mission accomplished. You won the game. You now have to worry about AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Hurts' legs, and how are you going to stop that? So it's a tough assignment all the way through. But first and foremost, got to stop the run game because once that run game gets going, everything opens up for the Philadelphia Eagles offense, and it gets scary from there.
I mean, it really was the game that turned our season around, running the ball, because we were just, for some reason, just so dead set on passing the ball last year when we had the best running attack and run line in football. And then the rest of the year, we pretty much were a run first offense for a very large chunk of the season after that.
Yeah.
It's like, a light went off in the coach's heads, like, all right, passing's not working. Let's just do what we do best. And I always say for offensive lines, especially ones that struggle, just run the ball, because run blocking is so much easier than pass blocking and all the different, assignments you've got to have against a blitz or, a top tier guy like Aiden Hutchinson. You just run the ball and you wear
Yeah.
that defensive line out, and then you worry about passing the ball. The run sets up the pass so much. All right, but then on the other side of it, the biased fan, the Lions are going to win by 30 type, comments. How does Detroit beat the Eagles? Like, is there a scenario that Jared Goff just goes red hot and attacks this team somehow on defense, and you see them coming out and just putting up 35 on us or something?
No,
You're really struggling to come up with that. You're really struggling with that one.
no, but if the Lions want to win this game, it's going to come on our side of the ball, the run game. You got to get that run game going because once that run game gets going, you could start owning the time of possession in this game, keep that Eagles offense off the field, get those Eagles defenders tired. Yeah, man, if you can get the run game going, have Jared only throw the ball, 25, 30 times this game, I think you're set up to win this game. I really do. If you can keep gaining positive yards off the run game, um, definitely something they should look into because, although I like our receiving core, it's going to be a really good matchup, I think. I know a lot about Darius Slay, obviously, with his time here in Detroit. You guys got
How does
Brett.
Detroit view him now that he's gone and in Philly and all? Do you guys still have a lot of love for him?
I love Darius Slay, man. I'll never have a bad word to
He's,
say about
I,
Darius Slay.
I don't know if he was like this in Detroit, but at least in Philly, especially on social media and stuff, he is so giving. Him and his wife, they are so like,
Absolutely.
they're out there giving back to the fans nonstop, and he really knows how to. I don't want to say win the fans over, but give back. I mean, he's an awesome guy.
Yeah, and not only just giving back, it's like he goes to all like the local high school games, even some college basketball games, not like the Michigan State, even like the local ones.
Mhm.
And we'll just attend those. And he'll even work out with some high school kids, like for football and stuff like that. So he's a great guy, man. I'll never have a bad word to say about Darius. So he's actually one of our first guests we had on the podcast, and he's kind of
Oh wow,
the one guy that kind of got us going and it started to get more recognition for sure because he joined our podcast. He was like one of our first episodes. So no, man, I'll never have a bad word to say about Darius Slay. Love that guy.
that's awesome that you guys had him on. That's pretty awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just fear like, so obviously I'm pretty set that I think the Eagles win this game, but I just have this one. The Eagles have always had one big thing for 3-4 years that have been a struggle, and that's our linebackers. And we have improved them. We brought in Kazir White from San Diego, who's supposed to be. I can't say I watched, not San Diego, Los Angeles. I can't say I watched a lot of Chargers games last year,
Yeah.
but everybody's hyping up him. He had a big interception in the preseason in week 1. Um, TJ Edwards is getting better. Hassan Reddick, but he's really going to be a blitzer, not dropping back in coverage. I just remember Jared Goff 2 or 3 years ago when he was still with the Rams. Him and Tyler Higbee just went off and just smoked the Eagles in an Eagles-Rams game. And I think that, to me, I mean, obviously, if you can get DeAndre Swift going, that would help. and it would help the real key is we're going to put our new linebacker trio or whatever, Nakobe Dean, we'll see how much he plays. We're going to put them to the test because Hawkinson is a guy last year and in previous years that would have probably torched us in the right situation.
Yeah.
And that one game from like 3 years ago is still like ingrained in my head. I think he had 3 touchdown catches in that game, Higbee, with Jared Goff as the quarterback. So that is the one thing that scares me. I think it's either him or Swift, but I think he's your biggest weapon on offense that could give us fits.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think another matchup that could be interesting is Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot. I mean, he was really effective towards the end of the year. A guy they moved around all over the offense. You even see him kind of like Debo a little bit. He'll have him lined up in the backfield a little bit and just have these weird wonky looks for Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I believe your nickel corner right now is Avonte Maddox. Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
Avonte
Avonte
Maddox.
Maddox? Yeah, Avonte
Yeah.
Maddox is our slot guy, yeah.
Yeah, and is he new to that position, or has he been always
Well, no,
been there?
he's been in the league. I think he was in the 2018 or 2019 draft. We started him as like a hybrid safety slot and corner. He had a really good year, got hurt. His second year, they moved him to outside corner, and he bombed massively. They moved him back to the slot last year, and he earned a pretty big contract extension by playing in that slot position. I'm not trying to say he's like a top 3 slot corner, but he's definitely a guy that is most comfortable in the slot.
Okay.
So we went from Nicole Roby Coleman and a bunch of cast off. You had him last year, so you know what he was like. So we went from him to Avonte Maddox stepping in. So yeah, I mean Maddox is definitely and he's another guy that's really growing personality wise and doing commercials and doing a lot of buddy things with other Eagles and out and involved in the community. So maybe we love him a little too much for that, but Avonte Maddox is turning into a top tier slot corner.
Yeah, your guys' DB room looks pretty good right now. Then you got Slay, Bradbury, Maddox, and then you got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson now too. You guys just got him.
Exactly. I mean that to me, everybody's really hyped over CGJ. I really struggle to say his name. I just think it does not flow very well. Chauncey Gardner, John. It just doesn't work. But he's never really played safety, and we traded for a guy to move him right. So that's it. Again, you guys got T.J. Hawkinson. We're gonna see, and DeAndre Swift. We're gonna see what CGJ is capable of as a safety when he was a slot cornerback basically for most of his career. So it's a reach. It's a worthwhile reach to make that trade, but it's still one of the few question marks on this team.
Yeah. I would say that'd be true though. TJ Hawkins is definitely a matchup to look out for in this game. Yeah, I mean, again, I would try to get the run game going, but you guys are in a great defensive line to get that going against. You guys still have a lot of good guys, man. You might not have that like super elite guy that everyone talks about, like a Nick Bosa or anything like that, but you guys have just so many guys around that line: Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Barnett. I'm definitely missing a couple guys.
Jordan Davis,
yeah,
us,
yeah, that's a guy.
I mean, I don't know how much you can think about, but I have this image in my head, and I think it's damn sexy. It's having Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, and Javon Hargrave, all 3 of our defensive tackles, all on the field at the same time, with Brandon Graham and Hassan Reddick lining up outside of them as the edge rushers. And then whatever you want to throw at safety, cornerback, the 2 linebackers, I don't care. That front 5 to me, I mean, there's questions about Jordan Davis's, motor and how many plays he can play. But man, something about that front 5, I'm just like, I love it. I love it so much.
That'd be really tough to run the ball against for sure. Against that,
run the ball. I'm talking about run the ball. I'm talking about
and pass rush.
I'm talking about anything right there.
Yeah,
I just looked at last night's game and what Von Miller still can do coming off the edge. And we haven't had a guy like, I'm not saying Hassan Reddick is as good as Von Miller, but I'm saying we haven't had somebody like that could just get after motor-wise after a quarterback in so long that it really excites us as Eagles fans.
Yeah, it's kind of like Lions fans that think with Hutchinson too, because we've never had a guy like that either. It's like we kind of have a guy like that right now. Hopefully, that could be like that, that like elite edge rusher.
Were you guys surprised that he was there too for you guys, or was there some expectation that he might fall? Because I would have bet I didn't bet on the draft, but if I would have bet on the draft, I would have bet him as the number 1 pick, 10 times.
Yeah, if it was like you told me, so the draft's in late April. If you told me like in March, any point in March that Hutchinson would be there at 2, I wouldn't believe you. I think he was kind of the consensus number 1 at the time. And then it was just kind of like that last week before leading up to the draft, it was like Trayvon Walker was gaining all this hype, and then he was the betting favor. I'm like, oh, okay, this might actually happen. 800 might actually fall to us. And then I think once come draft day, I was just so set in stone that he wasn't going number one anymore. It was going to be Walker. And I had a really good feeling the Lions were going to take him at number 2.
Okay. All right. So again, this is Tyler Sawa from the Pride Podcast, the Detroit Lions podcast, over there on the Blue Wire Podcast Network. Again, like I said, you guys do the Twitter Spaces as well. Eagles, Lions, Week 1. Do you got a prediction for the score?
I'm going to take the Eagles in this game. I'm not going to go too biased. I think it's going to be a good game, but I'm going to take the Eagles to win this game. Let's see, a score prediction.
You don't have to give a score prediction.
Let's just give it one. Why not, right?
Why not? That's what we do.
I'll go. Let's go 27. Let's go 27-23 Philly.
Okay, there we go. All right. I appreciate you, Tyler, joining me here on Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media here in Philadelphia. Good luck this Sunday. And, I hope you guys win 7 games. Let's just hope that one of them is not against the Philadelphia Eagles this week.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I have high expectations for you guys this year. I think you guys are going to win the division this year. I really do.
That's high. I mean, I have us winning the division. I have us as a 3 seat in the NFC. But after last night's game against the Rams, who knows? I got to figure out who the Rams are now after you get off the air, because the Rams were my team to beat in the NFC, and now they looked like absolute dog trash last night.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's early in the season, so but they did not look good at all on yesterday. So
good last night at all. All right, Tyler, thank you very much for joining me here on the I Have No Sponsor hotline. Good luck this weekend and good luck this season there in Detroit.
Thank you, Phil. Same to you guys, and yeah, good luck to the Eagles, man.
All right, good luck. Thanks. Have a good one. All right, that was my man Tyler right there from the Pride Podcast there in Detroit. A lot of interesting things said. And yes, I will address George's comment here in a second. We'll just get right into it. It's interesting how the other teams view making Hurts pass as much as possible as their best chance of winning. The ball is in Jalen Hurts' court. I don't think there's ever been really a doubt about that. And we got Dylan jumping in now that Tyler's out of there. Dylan, did you just hear what I just posted on the screen there? Is that the biggest thing you took from that, 40-some minute interview right there?
What was it? Because as I joined StreamYard, I had to cancel out the YouTube, so I did not hear what you just posted.
George had said earlier, it's interesting how other teams view making Hurts pass as much as possible their best chance of winning.
Yeah.
We knew that's the case, but the other podcasters, everybody else around the league knows that as well.
Yeah, well, it all goes back to the Tampa Bay game, right? Like when you hear a coach and players on the defensive side of the ball mic'd up, basically saying that keep making him throw. They have no shot. So, of course, and that's the last time we've seen Jalen Hurts in live action. So, of course, that's going to be the sentiment and the thought process from the opposing fan base and the opposing team and everything like that. But it's definitely a worry. But I think we already knew that, right? Like that's our question mark for Jalen Hurts. Right. So I don't think it's a surprise that our worry about Jalen Hurts is other people's excitement about facing Jalen Hurts.
Right. I mean, I think what it is the difference comes down to some people are concerned. Other people like me, I'll say it like me, hope and believe he's made put the work in to be better, so that if that's what the other teams do, he's going to be able to beat them. And we're hoping, we're believing he's put the effort in to get better, and adding AJ Brown to the mix makes him better.
Yeah, well, no, 110%, and it makes his life easier as well. So it's going to be interesting, Phil. Week 1, I think you're going to see it, because all offseason, what have we talked about? They don't want, yes, running the ball the second half of the year, as you guys talked about, that Detroit game changed everything around. Absolutely. That was out of necessity, like you said. Nick Sirianni, Jeffrey Lurie, they don't want to run the ball that way. Right. So week 1, you're going to see, maybe not as full as week 4, week 5, week 6, but you're going to see a heavy workload for Jalen Hurts in terms of something we haven't seen since the first 2 months of the year last year, when they wouldn't run the football at all. So it's going to be interesting to see how he looks and responds. Like you mentioned the Lions depth chart, specifically in the second.
It's bare.
I like what they have offensively. I do. Defensively, In Hutchinson, you guys talked about the draft pick. Love it. Okuda was, the third overall draft pick a couple years ago. He's coming off a major injury. Outside of that, they really don't have much. So this is definitely a nice, maybe I don't want to call it a tune-up, but
it's not about work effort, it's about ability. But work and effort in the offseason can improve ability.
Can shape ability, yeah.
Can shape, change, make ability better. I put in effort every day to get better here. I put in effort and work at my business to get better every day, and it makes it better. Effort and work equal growing ability. Not always. Doesn't matter. Some people, I'll bring an employee sometimes, I'll train them nonstop, and they just don't have it. But most times, work and effort make you better. How much better? That's the question.
Right, what's your ceiling, yeah.
But and what the ceiling is, that's the question. But if you put the work and effort in, the odds are the ability will have grown at least somewhat over what we saw last year. At least that's
100%. But that's why this year is the end all be all for kind of Jalen Hurts. No more excuses, because to George's point, something I was harping on last year, and I'm just hopeful this year. But we talked about it multiple times. Like, maybe he just is what he is. Like, there's not always more to a guy. Sometimes he just is what he is. The flashes are just that. They're flashes. You are going to find out in a few days and over the next couple of months exactly what Jalen Hurts is. Has all that work and effort made the ability ascend to another level? Or is this just what he is? He's what he was last year, and that's
I already said, George. I said I could train somebody that comes in my place for months, and they might not do it. They just might not be a pizza shop worker. But Jalen Hurts is already an NFL quarterback. Let's not act like he's not one of the 30 best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Right.
All right, we might negotiate or debate whether he's 10, 12, 14, 16, but it's not like he's not a top 30, top 32 quarterback.
Right.
He is already an NFL quarterback. It's how high can the work and effort get him ceiling wise. So let's put that. Oh, okay. You said, all right. Gotcha. Look, I'm trying to now, as the season begins, get off the overreaction and my overly hype about Jalen Hurts and look at it realistically. I really am. And I understand what Tyler had to say. I understand what George and everybody is saying about Jalen Hurts. But I will never give up on the fact that effort and work can make you somewhat better, at least. It's just how much better. And you said it just perfectly there, Dylan. Weeks 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, we got some defense that Jalen Hurts could do work in and prove what he's capable of. Those first few weeks, and I don't know if it'll really be enough, and in football, if it really works this way, but in other sports, it definitely works. Can he get hot early and that build confidence so when he gets to the middle or later in the season against some tougher, more important games, that he's got the confidence to succeed in them? I don't know. I hope so, but we'll see.
Well, all right, let me bring up this conversation for you, because it's something I talked about with Scotty last week on Turf Talk, and it's something I was going to save for DSM pregame live this Sunday at 12 o'clock when you, Scotty, and I are on breaking down the Eagles lines more closely towards game time. But the word that I'm looking at for Jalen Hurts this year, the word that has to describe him, is consistency. Consistent. Well, all offseason we talked about stacking positive days on top of each other. Yep. But go back to last season, Phil. The problem wasn't Jalen Hurts. How do I want to phrase? There was too much inconsistency. Like, dude, you can't come out and do what you did against the Chargers and have one of your better games of your career against the Chargers and, take the lead at the end of the game until the defense blows it, and then come out against the Giants a week or two later and have the worst game of your life. You can't come out in the first half in Denver against the Broncos, what some people call his best game of his career, right? Mm-hmm. First half, no doubt about it. Philly threw for like 10 yards in the second half. People just put that to the side, brush it to the side. He played one great half of football.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about. So can he has to be like this, a steady little incline, right? It cannot be this all year long, because then you can't win. You can't sustain winning with that type of inconsistent quarterback play. So quarter to quarter, half to half, week to week, Jalen Hurts needs to be as consistent as he can possibly be this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. I was going to bring that up at some point here once you jumped on. The stacking, you talked about it multiple times, stacking practices. So I think you're spot on. Real quick, because we can give our predictions on Sunday because we're going to be doing the pregame live and stuff like that, and we get more into the keys then. I want to jump back to last night a little bit, that Rams-Bills game, because I think there's some correlation to the Eagles. First off, the game itself, I was so hyped for it,
boy.
and the Bills just smacked
Sick to my
Matthew
stomach.
Stafford. Let me tell you something. Matthew Stafford, Wagner. I said Von Wagner. It's Bobby Wagner. I don't know why I said Von Wagner earlier in the show. Bobby Wagner, Allen Robinson, the whole entire running game.
Cam Akers.
Dylan, you're Dylan. Jalen Ramsey, you're Dylan Ramsey now.
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey, they looked old, slow, unprepared. And they run a similar offseason program as the Eagles do. I know George has been very critical of us coming out slow because of that, to start the season. But they were going against the Bills. We're going up against the Lions. Big difference in talent there. Before just talking about the game, does how the Rams came out last night give you some concern about how the Eagles will come out? Or is it just that the Rams are just not that good? Or the Bills are just that good, and that's what happened? Like, which one of those three are you leaning toward?
I mean, Scotty's going to have a field day with me on Sunday morning, man, because I was off last night. I was wrong. I'll come on here and I'll tell you I was wrong. The Bills and Josh Allen lived up to the dude. How many? He had 5 incompletions and 2 of them were interceptions, one of which wasn't his fault. So he realistically threw like 3 or 4 incompletions. One hit Diggs in the hands in the end zone on a crazy play where he was running and then threw the ball midair. Yeah. He was unreal last night. Scotty talked about his patience and maturity. How quickly he got the ball out of his hands was absurd. But to bring it back to what the Rams are and the Eagles, I think it was just a level of competition. I'll throw this one at you. More than anything, if the Rams want to be embarrassed, that fan base is an absolute joke.
My God.
You raised your banner last night at home, and you had to prepare with a silent count. They came out and said that. Matt Stafford said that this morning.
There was a false start in the first quarter because of the crowd noise from the Bills fans.
Are you joking?
Yeah. You would never get that in Philly.
You wouldn't get that almost anywhere else. Almost anywhere else, you would not get that, right? That's why LA is just such a terrible sports town.
Bills Mafia, I mean, they travel. They get fired up.
That was embarrassing. But listen, you're right. Matt Stafford, and it's week 1. It's against a very talented Bills team. But Matt Stafford looked pedestrian last night. I wasn't understanding the play. I'll say this. Sean McVay played that game entirely too conservative. The Bills are missing Tre'Davious White. If there's a weakness on their defense, on their team, it is their secondary. And everything was just short to intermediate. Stafford tried that no-look pass and sailed it over Kupp's head for an interception. The run game couldn't get going. The offensive line
was atrocious.
Bullied. And they didn't have Shaq Lawson, and Ed Oliver got hurt. That was completely embarrassing. Jalen Ramsey looked horrible. Aaron Donald was a near non-factor. He had 1 play in the backfield.
He was in like the first quarter too.
It's unreal.
George, I'm not putting words in your mouth. You said that you refused to give them the W because you're worried about a slow start. The slow start is related to the lack of hitting and tackling to the ground. Unless you have another reason to think that they're going to have a slow start. I mean, I'm pretty sure we've had this conversation on the show about critiquing the style of offseason. And I was pretty sure you said it was because of the style. Maybe you don't dislike the style, but you definitely, I thought, said that the style is why
the slow start
would happen. Yeah. And I said, well, a lot of teams run that style. And you said, but, and we went back and forth on that. Dude, the Rams last night, I have them as the number 1 team in my power ranking. I guess I won't have them in the number 1 team as my power rankings anymore after week 1. Well, and I have to determine how much of last night's game was just a matter of the Bills, or how much could Matthew Stafford just be spent?
Yeah.
Could he just be done?
I don't know, man. Listen, here's what bothers me. 2 weeks ago, heading into the season, I was sitting here. I forget who I was talking to, but I was saying like Rams could have a Super Bowl hangover. Bills are pissed off about the way their season ended with Kansas City. I was leaning Bills, and then all of a sudden I'm like, why is everyone disrespecting the Rams? Well, I don't know if it was so much disrespecting the Rams as much as maybe some people being verified in their thought process about the Bills. But that's what power rankings are. They're a week to week kind of change, adapting kind of thing. So yeah, you have to bump it at this point. It's going to be Bills 1. Rams don't have to drop further than 2 or 3, but it's a week to week thing, and the Bills have earned that through what they were able to do last night.
As the winningest team in the NFC. After last night, I have to question that for sure. I had them as 12. You have to question. I mean, I don't want to jump to an overreaction and say they're going to be a 6-win team or something like that, but we have to question. And now there is pressure on that team to see how good they're going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, Allen Robinson. Everybody wanted the Eagles to sign Allen Robinson. I mean, Matthew Stafford wasn't looking his way much, but when they would replay plays and you'd be looking here or there, you would see him just look so unmotivated to be like he wasn't trying to get open. He wasn't even. He was never open on any play left.
Well, let me say this, and I'm not the first person to say this. I heard it earlier this morning before I jumped on, but it was very true to me. We all know how talented the Rams are, but they are extremely, extremely top heavy. They are not a deep team. They have star after star after star. Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Allen Robinson, Matt Stafford. But here's the problem, Phil. When you have a couple stars and then a bunch of and your stars don't play like stars, what happens last night is going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
When Matt Stafford looks the way he did, when Aaron Donald's a non-factor, when Jalen Ramsey gives up a perfect passer rating against him being targeted, and then you have a bunch of nothing behind those guys, that last night is what happens, and that's a problem for them.
I also kind of feel like, though, on the other side of it, like we're all hyping up the Bills now because, I mean, we were already hyping up the Bills. I got them projected to win the most games in the NFL this year. They're obviously a really great team. But how much can we say that the Bills were just even better than we thought, or that was just what you said about the Rams? They're top heavy. Their stars didn't play. You know, if Aaron Donald has a good game, not even a great game, a good game, the outcome maybe changes a little bit. If Jalen Ramsey does his job and locks down, Stephon Diggs, maybe it's a closer game.
What was he doing on that touchdown? Did you watch the replay?
After it looked like they were trying. Chris Collinsworth was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, saying he thought he was getting help over the top on that play.
Come on, man.
It's
staring into the backfield and let a star wide receiver run by you for a walk-in touchdown.
I just don't. I don't want to overhype the Bills, and I don't want to crush the Rams
for 1 week.
I think both sides. I think both sides. The Bills played better than we could have imagined, and the Rams played 10 times worse than we could have imagined them playing last night.
Scotty, they did, man. And here's the thing: they had 3 turnovers in the first half. What happens if that doesn't happen? And the one turnover wasn't Josh Allen's fault. James Cook put the ball on the ground, and the Rams still couldn't do nothing.
That is kind of why I'm trying not to hype the Bills too much, because how often does a team just have that many? It was 3-1 the turnover battle at halftime. Any team, almost every team in the NFL, if you're winning the turnover battle 3-1, you're winning that football game at that moment. Very few teams are going to get 3 turnovers and not score off those turnovers.
But is that how good the Bills' defense is?
Maybe.
I don't know. Like I said, I just thought Sean McVay called a very conservative game last night. Stafford was not sharp. I know he was like 8 for 9 to start the game, but it wasn't a clean 8 for 9. He had a lot of overthrows, a couple bad reads, and outside of Cooper Kupp, nobody showed up offensively for the Rams. So it was really ugly. And man, what sucks, Scotty, congratulations. I don't know how much Scotty put on the early payout, but I went Rams.
I had the Rams money line. So.
Well, what really hurt was obviously how the Bills started the game is what I was praying for to happen. Like, I want Rams get the ball, march down. I don't got to worry about the rest of the game. Happened the other way. But then, Phil, it's 10-10 at halftime. Rams getting the ball, and I'm like, oh, my God. March down the field and don't let me sweat this out. They go 3 and out. Stafford drops the snap. Bills march right down the field. They go 3 and out. Bills march right down the field. I'm like, oh, my God, man, this is ugly.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. All right, so I'm not giving a score prediction. I don't want you. Let's wrap this up, though, here. Eagles, Lions. As Tyler had said there, most likely he's got the Eagles winning. Mm-hmm. It's going to take a miracle kind of performance from the Lions to an extent. Everything's going to have to go perfectly for them to even come close to winning this game. We've got a jam-packed Sunday here on DSM Media. So that's what I want to close the show with, because we are going to do our predictions on Sunday. You guys got Turf Talk 10 a.m. We've got Eagles pregame live at 12. We might have halftime live. We're going to see. I got my nieces coming up.
Might have some fantasy stuff.
We might have some fantasy stuff mixed in between the 10 and 12 o'clock show. We got lots happening here. So make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button, and do yourself a favor. Turn the notifications on. That little bell. I'm looking at my YouTube over here. It is somewhere on that screen. There's a little bell. There it is. It's next to the word subscribe. Click that bell. It will notify you every time DSM Media is live. You're not going to want to miss the Sunday lineups on DSM Media. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell. Don't miss a second of the action. Guys, it's week 1. Eagles are going to beat the Lions. We'll give our predictions on Sunday. Dylan, thanks for jumping on for 15 minutes there. Thank you to Tyler from the Pride podcast, the Detroit Lions podcast. Greatly appreciate him joining us, giving us a little look at the Lions. Everybody have a great Friday. Enjoy it. If you're in Kennett for the Mushroom Drop or the Mushroom Festival, yes, there's a Mushroom Festival in Kennett. Stop by my pizza shop. I'll be there all day Friday and Saturday.
Oh, boy.
Come say hello. Yes.
What kind of mushrooms?
Festival. Every mushroom known to man. There's cooking competitions, mushroom competitions, drinking competitions. Oh. There'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of 50,000 people in Kennett Square this weekend for the Mushroom Festival.
And how many people inhabit Kennett Square?
Like 3. Yeah.
You guys better build a hotel ASAP.
Kennett Square is smaller than the one block of Gay Street with all the bars in Westchester. That's how small Kennett Square is. But there will be 50,000 people on that one block this weekend in Kennett Square. So come on out, say hello to me. Everybody have a great Friday, a great weekend. We will see you Sunday here on DSM Media. And go Birds.
Go Birds.
And Philadelphia has it.